right, it's time to introduce her. So, Lisa Yates is an instructor and career coach with ACC's Career Services team. Every 4 weeks, she co-teaches a job search strategy course, strategies for today's jobs, for both the community at large and ACC students. Before ACC, Lisa worked in a variety of capacities, building a national apprenticeship organization, implementing a financial literacy platform for nonprofit organizations, needed, and government agencies, growing a domestic economic development philanthropy initiative, including workforce development, revitalizing Hollywood to create jobs and affordable housing for local residents, and more. Lisa hails from both coasts, and in between, with an undergraduate degree from UCLA, a Master of Urban Planning and Public Policy from the University of Illinois, and a Master of Public Administration from Harvard University. So we are definitely spoiled, riches, whatever. So I want you please welcome Lisa Yates for her presentation, Reflections.
This presentation is divided, the deck is divided into three areas. So just kind of keep this in mind as we're going through it. One is mindset, one is expression, and the last is connection, okay? So essentially what it is that every so often, you can hear me now? Okay, every so often, I hear someone say something that for me is like a wow moment and it clicks. And I always want to share it, okay? So I have compiled them, these sayings, these reflections, these insights, and now I'm sharing it with you all. And so I'm kind of developing this. I want to talk about it with you all. I have 11 of them. We might not get through all 11 because I'm going to be asking lots of questions, but let me start with the first. If you can't Oops, sorry about this. If you can't unpack your why, it's hard to make others believe in your you. And by that, I mean, and let me start with this question. I'd like somebody, one or two people to answer. If a hiring manager could only remember one thing about you, what would you want it to be? This doesn't have to, nothing I say or do ever needs to be complicated. So this doesn't need to be complicated. Gabrielle, I see you shaking you're like right in my line of sight. I'm going to start with you even though you didn't volunteer. So just take time to think about it.
I guess maybe like a feeling, like a good feeling about you. I guess a good impression. Just like
okay.
Something about them I like is notable.
And what would that notable be?
Maybe like attitude.
Okay.
Maybe like interest.
So curiosity?
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody else? Go ahead.
I would say my wife, I like to help people.
Okay, so service.
Yeah. I like to help people, find books and just, be useful.
Okay.
Yes, so one thing I always hear is people sometimes don't remember your name, don't remember a lot of things about you, but they don't forget how you make them feel.
So it's you want to be remembered for how you make somebody feel.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Somebody, go ahead, Stephen.
Is this going to be at the end of the interview? You're shaking hands, nice to meet you. One thing you want them to remember about?
No, not at an end of an interview. It can be anything. And actually, it could be somebody that you meet at a networking event. I just use hiring manager because that's the first thing that came to mind.
Competent and kind. There's the balance of both.
Yeah.
Balanced, competent, kind.
That's so interesting that three of you, Gabriella, Stephen, and I forget your name? Claudia, all was this kind of attitude feeling, You want to communicate that. That makes me really hopeful today. Yeah. So, if you don't clearly understand and communicate your why, which is your purpose, the impact you want to make on others, or your motivation, nobody else is going to be able to. So it's really important that you understand your why so that you can communicate it. And this applies to, this doesn't just apply to the interview, this applies to career conversation. I always use the example of walking my dog because I walk my dog a lot. This applies to meeting somebody in the dog park. This applies to the person you're standing behind in line at Flat Track. Does anybody know what Flat Track is? Oh, you do. Good for you. Yeah, my favorite coffee place. There are always places to network and to talk to people. And so you want to be able to communicate your why. And the reason why it's important to communicate your why is because it helps somebody wrap their head around your goals and where you're headed so that they can help you. People can't help you if they don't know what you want. So the bottom line is that if you can't clearly express what drives you, it'll be hard to make a strong impression on somebody. So you have to be clear. You have to be able to tell your why, because if you can't tell your story, nobody else can. That is one. Two is, and many of you, oops, I keep forgetting to do this. Many of you have heard me say this in class. Either you can brand yourself or you can let others brand you. So my next question is, if you ask 5 people that you've worked with in the past to describe you in 3 words, what would those 3 words be? Julia. I used to coach Julia, so I feel like I can ask her to do anything. You got to speak louder. Okay, so kindness. You're somebody that's empathetic because you listen, and you're somebody that's very helpful, which could also translate to collaborative. You're a good team player. There's always, ways. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, and do you still have a star story for that? Just wondering. You don't have to say it. You got to have your star story for that. Okay? Anybody else? 3 words that 5 people. Go ahead, Elaine.
I actually asked a coworker at one time because you always get that question of, describe yourself. And so I asked a coworker and wrote this down.
Oh, good.
She said, I'm detail-oriented. I am articulate, dependable, honest and ethical, and caring.
That would be a great introduction to a tell me about yourself question. This is, when they say, so tell me a little bit about your background, or, tell me a little bit about your work history. Well, let me start with, I have asked peers in the past what stand out to them about me, and then talk about that. I think that's a great, great first line of a tell me about yourself. And then there's also the other issue where you're talking to somebody, whether it's a career conversation or an interview, and you walk away and you say to yourself, was I able to communicate who I was? Do they really get who I am? And so you want to be able to articulate your why, and you want to be able to articulate your brand. By the way, we have, for those of you that don't know the strategies class, we have a way to define our brand. And the way that we define our brand is, and this is something to include in every brand, are our strengths. I'm going to run out of room here. Our edge. And strengths. Edge, wait, what's the other one? Oh, right, and impact. So when you define your brand, when you tell somebody who you are, you want to cover these 3 points: strengths, edge, and impact. Okay, that's a brand statement, and really, really important.
Oh, that's close to DEI, SEI. I'm just laughing.
Oh, I see. Okay, I lost that E, and I couldn't figure out like where that was coming from. Okay. Yeah, it's really important that you be the one to determine your professional identity. Your competitive, we call it competitive edge in the industry. What makes you unique? What makes you stand out from somebody else? And so this can be really creative. So for someone like you, you have, and actually, there were a few other people back there, you guys back there, that have like these varying interests. And so your competitive edge is a compilation of those interests. That's what makes you unique. And speaking of AI, what I would recommend is that you have a conversation with AI, throw it into ChatGPT or whatever platform you use, and say, these are my interests. Can you draw a connection between them?
Nice.
Yeah, we do that all the time. It really helps. So, and we'll get into AI in a little bit, okay? So either you can brand yourself or you can let others brand you. Okay, the next. Pull of the future. Oops, sorry. Pull of the future, push of the past, weight of the present. When you think about your job search right now, what feels strongest to you all? Is it the pull of the future, the push of the present, or the weight of the past? That's an open question.
I think it just depends on how much baggage you think you have.
So that would be the weight of the past. Okay.
I know for me, I was a federal employee, and so I got caught up in the stuff that's going on with federal employee. And I was loving what I was doing, committed to it, committed to the mission of serving the country, all that kind of stuff. And so to have the abrupt ending of that, that's the way of the past for me. And it seems, as I've gone through this process, it seems like people maybe more in the private sector kind of use the layoffs. I don't know how you ever acclimate to that, but for me, that's that way of the past is very difficult. And it might be for others too. I don't know. But if you really liked what you were doing, and all of a sudden it's kind of ripped away.
So that's what you're carrying on your shoulders now, is the weight of the
It
past.
informs my present quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got to set that. I've got to work through it, but I've got to set it aside.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And sorry. How about somebody else?
I'm feeling good. Well, somewhere in the tide, the scale of pull of the future, weight of the past. It's like, oh, AI, gotta do that. Must enhance, but that's because my past, I haven't been doing that. So trying to balance, like, what can I get pulled? What weight can I take off the past to meet the demands of the future?
So it's, for what I'm hearing, and you can correct me, is that you have a skill set that you feel really good about, but you also know, people that know me know that I look to the side or one side when I speak. Yeah, and when I'm on screen, it looks like I'm reading something to the side, So what it means is you have this like skill set that you want to use and you're really good with, but you also know that you need to make changes to make yourself more marketable.
And you're not alone. Just so you know that. You're not alone.
Something that Shannon didn't say in my intro is, just because you didn't have that, is that I did not work for 18 years. I raised my kids. And then 10 years ago, I came back into the workforce. And I had zero skills. I didn't know how to use Google Docs. I didn't know anything except how to search the web and use a Word doc. That was it. Those were my skills. So it was a matter of, and my past had been so varied that it was hard to hang my hat on anything. Okay, so it is, how do you make yourself relevant? How do you make yourself relevant? Yeah. Anybody else? Go ahead, Stephen.
It's got to be pull the future. Push the present is simply the every second counts and getting there. Way to the past is forget about that past. I felt betrayed by this past layoff for maybe 2 weeks, and I thought, what am I feeling? I'm feeling betrayed. We're the best, the strongest quarter. We're setting records in sales. How could this happen? I felt betrayed. Throwing all of that behind me now. It's all pull the future, push the present. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I've got plenty of great skills to apply. So there's nothing I can do about any sort of weight of the past other than woulda, shoulda, coulda. So I don't live there either. And I don't do that. It has to be, how do I push it, now? And it doesn't just feel urgent. It feels, well, important, yes, but it just feels urgent too. So that's it.
Does anybody know that in here the Serenity Prayer?
Yeah.
Okay, anybody wanna, because it's so relevant? Go for it, whoever wants to.
Give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
But I got a spin on that, and that is grant me whatever.
Yeah, I mean, so it doesn't mean that he believes in a certain God, it's a higher being. Yeah.
Serenity to accept the people I cannot change.
Oh, yeah.
Courage to change the
Yeah.
person I can, which is myself, and the wisdom to know the difference. I mean, I was like, this year's old, 2 years ago, a friend of mine shared that one with, it was like, all these years of trying to change other people, I just got to change myself. And it's really,
So let this
Yeah.
be.
yeah, I can't change anybody else.
Yeah.
Change the person I can. which is-
That's a good spin. Yeah, thank you. But this is really important. I mean, you can only control the things that you can control. Go ahead, Elaine. Where are you?
Yeah, with this?
Yeah.
I think it was something we talked about is that, working in the corporate world, you finally realize, oh my gosh, I'm doing this for everybody else except myself. And just put that in the past. I mean, it's the push of the present, let's get to the future. And one of the things that I told her, and I don't know if you've ever heard this one, but I read this on LinkedIn one day, and I can't remember who, what, where, who posted it. But the statement was, success is about making a difference in other people's lives. And that just
Really resonated with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's like, take care of yourself, but let's help others also.
Yeah, yeah. So for the service people here, that really resonates. Yeah, thank you. So I mean, it's a deep phrase. I mean, a deep kind of these connections, these three, because when we're navigating the job market, we feel the tension between strategy and emotion, right? Where do we go with this? And let's dissect it, the pull of the future. So for those of you that have already sat through one of my presentations, we talk about North Star, and we dissect your North Star. And for those of you that haven't taken our class, I'm not pushing our class, but man, I think it's really good, and it's only 4 weeks of your life. And we talk about North Star, which are your goals in that. And we break it down. So your North Star and your career priorities are the pull of your future. It's really the magnet for your why. And it's the kind of work you do. It's what motivates you. It's what makes you move forward. Those are your North Star. That is your North Star. That is your career priorities, the pull of the future. Okay, what kind of life are you trying to build? Then the push of the present is the feelings that you have right now, the grind, right? It's filling out applications. It's having to deal with people that ask you, how's your job search going, right? It's all those kinds of things. And then the weight of the past can be one of two things, probably more, but the two that I've singled out are baggage and wisdom, okay? You can either ground yourself in your strengths and your proud moments and what you've learned from them, or you can hold back and get stuck by thinking a lot about or having lots of regrets. And that's a decision that you're going to have to make. So the bottom line to all of this is,
what about the effort involved, that the weight of the past could be how much you've tried and maybe not succeeded. The push of the present is your current efforts, and the pull of the future is keeping the optimism to keep going despite the...
exactly, your resilience. Yeah. Yep, thank you. The pull of the future being based on your resilience, what you've learned, and I have another one related to that when we go on, so that's excellent, thank you. So you want to stay pulled by the future that you want to create. You want to act in the present with focus and persistence. And you want to think about the past, but you want to think about the past without being defined by it. And that's really hard for a lot of us moving forward. Okay, next. Make your story, and again, these are all things that people have said in the past that have crossed my path, and they resonated with me, so that's why I'm sharing with you. Make your, oops, sorry. I wonder if I'm going to get to a point where I'll actually do this first and this second. Make your story a conversation, not a performance. So, question I have for you all is, can you think of a time that you had a career conversation or a conversation with somebody about maybe what they do, what their path has been, and something that has resonated with you, and so you're talking to them about that particular topic? Have you had a career conversation and walked away from it feeling really good? Go ahead.
Well, I volunteer at the library, and so I sometimes, when I talk to the librarians, they I feel good just because what they tell me is like what their background is and make me feel good.
So, what made it different from talking to somebody else about their career trajectory, but this resonated?
It's more casual.
More casual. So for you, it was more casual. Okay. Yeah. You guys are just like in direct line.
I had a friend who was a recruiter, and she was in a situation that, despite being a recruiter, she couldn't get a job. And that was the irony that hit me. Because every time I would show her a resume, she would treat people like a commodity.
Yep.
And I was like, why you feel so hurt now by not getting a job? That's your point of view. So that made me feel good. I know it's not a positive thinking.
So what made you, oh,
What made me feel good was about, hey, it's the system, it's not me. That's the way things are graded to be. Like every time you have a break in your career, oh, this is bad. Okay, why is this bad? For example, you would stay at home for 15 years.
So that's interesting. Okay, let me go back to yours, which is, and then I'm going to go back to yours. So yours was that this person has made her conversation with you casual and more of a conversation than, again, like a performance. Like,
Yeah, and I also do a lot of volunteer work, and so when I go to there and I'm talking to all these other people, it's just like getting to know somebody much more casual. You don't
Yeah.
feel so tense.
so think about that, yes. And but yours conversation sounds like it was real honest too with her. And so it was the honesty of the conversation that produced your feeling of, wow, I see things differently and I can move on, whereas she can't.
I was thinking Schadenfreude, but
It made me feel like it's a game. You have to
Yeah, it is a game. Strategy. You got to learn the strategies. Go ahead, Donna.
I also felt when I've had different interviews, the ones where I've come in and it's a panel and people are on a table and each one taking questions and not allowing for a flow of conversation, and then going in and having an interview where I'm in a circle and there's some anecdotes and just some more questions about me outside of work, and then with work I know immediately, oh, that's the group I want to work with. I don't want to work with, a panel. It could be, possibly, but I also just felt like, for me, I really want a collaborative. The team is everything. I have a skill set that works pretty well if I can be in a collaborative environment where we can be friends.
And that's something, all of this, what this is an indicator of is that people enjoy conversations that flow naturally. And I don't think I've said it in this class, Stephen. Julia, Kelly, I might have said it in our class, that I work for another organization, and it's run by two guys that were Stanford MBAs. And that's important because when they were in business school, so to get a Stanford MBA is like the gold standard in this country and probably in any country. It's like a ticket to anywhere. And when they were, when you're in your second year of business school, that year, or maybe it's after your first year, you need an internship, because after your internship's over, you will most likely be hired by somebody by those people when you graduate. And so these two brothers, they were twins, couldn't get an internship. And they they had lots of career conversations with people, they had lots of interviews, and they were at the top of their class, they couldn't get an interview. They couldn't get a job offer. And so that summer, they didn't have job offers. The next year, one of them joined a business club fraternity kind of thing on campus. And it was somewhat inclusive in that you had to interview to get into this club. And this brother who was in the club was on the interviewing committee. And he realized that as he interviewed people, the people that he veered towards were the ones that had conversations with him during the interview. They weren't the ones that had they had memorized their star stories. They had memorized their tell me about themselves statement. They were natural speakers, and because of that, people related to them. And so that's what I encourage you, is to make your story a conversation. Don't make it a performance. And when you're so we talk about networking, and one of the best ways to network is through career conversations. That's how I got out of my 18-year. It wasn't a rut because I chose it, but that's how I moved on after 18 years, was just an abundance of conversations with people about their pathways, having the conversation, having the exchange be a conversation, not a performance, right? And as a result, they were always willing to give me referrals when I left the conversation. So it's about being natural. In a career conversation, even in an interview, it's all about establishing a connection and a relationship. And that's something really important to remember. It's about, you want to share your story, your why. You want to have questions ready, and you want to talk about yourself naturally. That's what people remember. People remember not necessarily how you delivered your message, but how you made them feel. They don't remember whether or not your message was polished, but again, how you made them feel. So focus on the conversation, not perfection, okay? The next one. Oh, see, I'm trying to get this. Here we go. I know, it's been a hard week. Hard skills get you noticed, human skills get you hired. This is a really important one. Even though it's good for those of you that don't have the AI skills, to learn AI, to have some sense of it, What's most important these days, which is really interesting, is that employers are hiring more for what was formerly known as soft skills, which we now are calling human skills, are really power skills. The number one skill employers are hiring for now is critical thinking. That was in Forbes or Lighthouse, which is like the Bible of job search or employment research. It's critical thinking. And you can't just say, I have critical thinking skills. You have to be able to substantiate it either with an anecdote or somewhere on your resume with bullet points, okay? It's communication, it's collaboration, and it's critical thinking. And so, what was your name? Quentin. So that's why Quentin, who's like trying to figure out exactly where she stands in terms of job opportunities, if she can show, it may not actually be a specific skill that someone hires her for, but if she can demonstrate that she has really high level critical thinking abilities and she can prove it by her experience in the past, she's somebody that somebody may consider over somebody else that might have the technical skills. So it's being able to articulate that. And the reason why is because these strengths predict long-term success in the workplace. Whether you'll fit, whether there's a cultural fit, whether you're able to navigate challenges, all those kinds of things are what people are looking for now because things are moving so quickly. Okay? Excuse me?
Hard skills.
Hard skills, everybody has. The human skills, people say they have, but they're unable to prove, they don't prove that they have them. And that's where it's up to you on your resume, in your cover letter, in the interview, in a career conversation. I'm great, I mean, what I'm good at, or Elaine was saying, there were these 3 or 4 skills that she's good at. Now she's got to be able to put context to them. Let me prove to you why I think this is the case. Okay? Then the next. Oh, God darn. If I wasn't in a crowd, I'd say something else. Okay. AI is a text generator, not a truth generator. So I'm a big fan of AI. I teach it to faculty at ACC. But I use my own voice, okay? How many of you are using AI now in your job search? Okay, so more and more are using it. It used to be that like 2 people would raise their hand, okay? I recently had somebody kind of describe AI to me because I could never really wrap my head around it. They described it to me in words that I thought were really useful and that now I try to use and share with other people. Generative AI, and I'm reading this now, only produces running scripts. I want you to keep this in perspective. What it does is it strings groups of words together to align with expected results. Those expected results are your prompts. AI only generates text. That's all it's doing. It's not giving you an opinion. It's not providing you with necessarily facts because it hallucinates. So in order for you to use AI wisely, you have to be able to take what it produces and make it authentically you. This is really, really important. All AI does is produce sentences based on patterns that it finds in its massive collection of data. That is AI. That's AI. Okay? So it can add and subtract for you. It can tell you the capitals of all 50 states and maybe what they have in common and why they were chosen as capitals, right? So it can deduce the commonality that runs, and you may have to verify it. But what is important to remember is that over-reliance on AI makes whatever you produce generic. And hiring managers and recruiters know this. I was in a conference, and I apologize for those of you that have been in one of my classes, because you hear some of these stories, you've heard some of these stories before. I was at a conference in June with employers and people like me. And one of the employers got up and said, you know, it used to be that when I posted a job the first week, I would get 100 or 200 applications, and like all the employers in the audience nodded their head. They said now by the second day, we get 1,000 responses or 2,000 responses. But what makes it interesting is that it's easy for them to go through these responses. Because what often happens is that Joe in Connecticut has almost an identical resume to Allison in Oregon, because they've both used AI. Okay? So that's really important to remember, that we're all clued in on this. So you've got to make it work for you. Okay? AI is a tool for efficiency, but it's not a substitute for your experience, your judgment, or personal insights into who you are. Just remember, AI is a text generator, not a truth generator. Another one I thought was really good. Don't wait for the perfect question. Don't wait for the perfect question. Instead, create the perfect opportunity. This relates to interviewing. Question for you all. Whose job is it in an interview to make sure your story gets told?
Yours.
And how do you do it? For those of you that said yours. How do you make sure your story gets told, Stephen?
That's if you take an opportunity to tell them your story, which you're going to get a yes. And have it ready. You mentioned having questions ready. It's also important to have that conversation. You want to get a feel for the place and who these people are, whether they're going to be right for you or not, you're going to be right for them. Do you fit the culture? Do you like this place? Is it a beautiful building? Everything has to fit. So oftentimes the opportunity to pose the perfect question is in a conversational mode, maybe before, after, or during you talk about your story.
Well, it's actually the perfect, so you don't want to wait for them to ask the perfect question. So that actually is a really good point. You know, we always talk about doing research before you have an interview. And you got to do a lot of research. You got to go on Facebook. You got to go on Glassdoor. You've got to go on Indeed and look at reviews of the company. And so the strategy here, actually, Stephen, again, this is a really good point, is that we all have stories. And in our class, we talk about always have stories the STAR story structure, situation, task or challenge, action, result, and we use takeaway as well. Always have your stories. You know, you have achievement, a story about achievement, a story about mistakes, a story about persuasion or negotiation, etc., collaboration, etc., etc. What's really interesting, I think, about this, and I haven't really thought about it in this terms, is you do your research and you kind of anticipate what questions are going to be asked, and you have these stories and figure out when you're going to use these stories so that you don't have to wait for the perfect question from the interviewer. But when they touch on something, you can be ready to jump in with your story. What's your name? Yeah. No, behind you, Donna. Yeah. Malcolm. So Malcolm, because you don't use AI, you know, I'm just going to give you some insight here because I think a lot of people know this already, is that before you go into an interview or whatever, you can say to like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever you use, you can copy and paste the job description, put it in, copy and paste your resume, put it in, say this is my job description, this is my resume, generate 10 interview questions for me, okay? It often aligns, or generate 20, whatever you want. And so that's where you have these stories ready and you align them with those questions. And even if it's not exactly that question, you're ready to jump in and give your story. So you're not waiting for the question. You're ready to deliver what your proud moment and what you feel best about. And something that I said earlier, which is really important, is that people don't remember exactly what you say. What they remember is how they feel. So even if you don't answer that question head on, if you deliver a really strong story, they're not going to remember exactly the question. They're going to remember the story. Okay? I know, I'm almost done. I'm good.
The STAR action result was the last two. What was the first two? ST?
Oh, situation task. We're going to do that this week, Stephen. Situation, task, action, result, and then takeaway. And we go into it in depth in class. Okay. If you want 15 minutes of someone's time, show them you have spent 15 minutes. Oh, shit. Okay, see, now I'm really getting, this is like the truth. If you want 15 minutes of someone's time, show them you've spent more than 15 minutes to earn it. And so when you're networking and you call somebody up and you want coffee, you need to prepare for the conversation. And what does that mean, prepare for the conversation? I just Google the person's name. And I looked in their LinkedIn profile, if they have a Facebook, which I don't have anything on Facebook, but I look at other people's Facebook pages, see what they have in Facebook, you just want to find out, stalk them as much as possible about them. My story for that is, okay, so that's number one, know as much as you want about them because you want to be able to have a conversation with them, right? It's a conversation that they're going to remember. And you can also think about, do some heavy research on industry trends that you may have. The purpose of this is a two-way conversation, and they appreciate it. And they want to know that you have prepared. I remember going into this career conversation with this woman. And you always have questions ready, because the person you're talking to may not be such a great conversationalist. And I had done my due diligence. And she was an awful conversationalist. And I had met her through LinkedIn. I had been scrolling through LinkedIn. She was doing exactly what I was doing. I followed her. I commented on her post. And then I reached out, connected with her and said, do you have 15 minutes to talk? And I was all prepared. I knew my brand statement. I knew what I wanted from her, that kind of thing, or what I'd like her opinion on and help with. But she was more of a yes-no person. And because I had done my due diligence, I knew that she rode horses in Virginia. I'm from Washington, D.C., so I know that in Virginia, in Middleburg, Virginia, it's a big horse community. So about 5 minutes into the conversation that was going nowhere, I said to her, hey, you're from, I knew she was from the East Coast. Somehow I knew she was from Virginia in a way that I didn't look stalkish. And I said, hey, you're from Virginia. What I love about Virginia is Middleburg. Have you been to Middleburg? And this was her community. And so the rest of the conversation went well, okay? Because I was able to find a commonality with her, and she relaxed and she was able to have a conversation with me because I had done my research. So that was, if you want 15 minutes of someone's time, and she appreciated the research I had done to get ready for the feel free to jump in. Okay, this one, go ahead, Elaine.
And I know this is something you and I have talked about before, but sometimes it's about making it about them.
Totally.
As opposed to you just blurting everything out, making it about them. And, I just like to talk, but people like to talk
about themselves. And so that's what with this woman, she was able then to talk about her riding horses in Middleburg, Virginia. People like to talk about themselves. Thank you. That is really important. Again, we're talking about feeling. What they care about is the feeling, You hear me say this next one a lot. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Taking action is the only way to create possibilities. Okay, this is, I'll attribute it to Wayne Gretzky, who's a Canadian hockey player who just lost his record last week or the week before. Okay, but he was there to see it lost on purpose. So if you don't submit your cover letter because it's not a perfect fit, you know, you don't hit 80% of the qualifications, you won't get the interview. But you won't get the interview. You may not get the interview if you do, but you definitely won't get the interview if you don't. A statistic is that men submit resumes if they only have 65% of the qualifications. Women have to have upward of 90%. So women, those jobs that you're not applying for because you only have 65% of the qualifications, but you think you're a perfect fit and you have transferable skills, you're losing out. You're missing 100% of the shots you don't take. You may get the interview or you may not, but at least you have a chance. Okay? This is my last one, by the way, I think. Yep, okay. Confidence comes from action. Oh, damn. At least I'm consistent, yeah. Thank you. Confidence comes from action, not outcome. So the way to feel confident and move forward is by taking actions. Each small step, everything from submitting an application to making connections on LinkedIn to having career conversations, all of those are next steps. You don't get confident. You know, I think it was Churchill who talked about this, and I'm not as eloquent as he was. But you don't get confident from everything going perfect, right? You get confident from making mistakes, learning from them, and moving forward. And not necessarily making mistakes, too. Also getting, you know, maybe turned down for a job. Or maybe you're not answering. But as you keep showing up, you get more and more confidence. So what I encourage you to do is redefine success. Instead of tying yourself to outcomes, tie your feeling of accomplishment to moving forward. Okay? So, and in terms of like job applications and that kind of thing, what we like to say is to view each no as a data point and as a learning experience. Any kind of feedback is information that's going to provide you with confidence, which comes from action, and moving forward. There's a saying also that I like, which is progress builds confidence, confidence builds momentum, and momentum gets you hired. Confidence is not the starting point, okay? It's what grows from taking consistent action. Momentum means you're in motion, right? And employers notice the energy that you bring to the table. So if you're feeling momentum and you're feeling confident, that's going to be a turn on to an employer and help you stand out. So with that said, these are, you know, what have stood out to me over the last couple of years. I have more. But what I'm curious now is to you all, what stood out to you in those slides? Like, what did you align with or connect with most? The last one, confidence comes with action.
No, the confidence, the one about the resume, because I've had family and friends come, so like spitting out the resume and stuff.
Oh, that you miss 100% of the shots you don't.
So, I'm like, I keep waiting for.
Yeah, it's never going to be perfect. Anybody? Go ahead, Gabriella.
I just had a question about the last slide. Tell me the saying that you said that you.
Oh, that, what was that? Okay, let me look. Oh, right, okay. Go ahead, Stephen.
Progress leads to more confidence, which leads to more momentum, which leads to you getting hired.
Right, progress builds confidence, confidence builds momentum, momentum gets you hired. Yeah. Anybody else?
It's just the more you do it,
The more you do it.
it's gonna be not as overwhelming.
Yeah, every step. You know, you just got to break it down. Every step. Kelly was talking to me earlier about something that this is really important, this one, that recently he took a class, and what stood out to him in that class was that he was able to come up with a structure in his job search, which essentially means that now he has steps, you know? And that's how he's going to build his momentum. So it's those steps. The brand yourself, man, you got to be able to define yourself. That why is really important. My co-instructor that I teach with, Lonnie, so I don't necessarily feel like I need to brand myself, because once I move on from here, I'm doing something else. I mean, like, I'm not going to be selling myself anymore. And she's younger. By the way, I don't have gray hair, and I don't know TikTok. Yeah, I think you're going to have to come up with something else. She's been working on her brand statement for a year and has finally come up with it. She's just evolved it, and she runs it. She has like a couple of us that she runs it by every couple of months. So your brand statement is static, and it's a work in progress. Okay? This is where you're getting stuck. Okay, anything else? You guys have been a good audience. I hope that there's at least one slide that sticks with you. Okay.
Lisa, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.